Hi friend, we are going to discuss the consumption function. It was developed by John Maynard Keynes. John Maynard can considered as the father of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics. He is the founder of modern economics. Before the John Maynard Keynes, classical economist followed the supply side economies. But John Maynard Keynes proposed the different theory that is called modern economic theories or the macroeconomic theories. So now the consumption function relates the amount of consumption to the level of income. When the income of community increases or rises, consumption also rises. The response to change in the income and changes in consumption. Due to the change in income, consumption also changes. Because a given level of income increases, consumption also increases. So this increase in consumption is depend upon the marginal propensity to consume. If the marginal propensity to consume is high, people's consuming more goods and services. We should be born in the mind that consumption is the whole schedule which describe the amount of consumption at various levels of income. Now we are taking a hypothetical schedule to describe how the increase in income will leads to increase in consumption. This is the schedule. We have to know the increase in income will lead to the increase in consumption. Now we have to move on to the consumption function. So consumption function is a functional relationship between two aggregates, that is the total consumption and gross national income. Symbolically we can represent it as the C is equal to F of Y. Here C consider as the consumption and Y consider as the income, and F is the functional relationship between these two. Here C represent consumption, Y represent the income. Thus consumption function indicates a functional relationship between C and Y. So here the C is dependent on Y. C is dependent on Y. C is dependent on Y. That's why C is considered as the dependent variable and Y is considered as the independent variable. Independent variables. Here C is determined by Y. This relationship is based on the ceteris paribus. Here ceteris paribus means other thing remaining the same. Other thing remaining the same. Same means other thing remaining the constants, constant. This assumption is taken to study the consumption function in the short run. In the short run, J.M. Keynes used to describe the consumption function in the short run. It is all other influential factors will be constant, or we considered all possible influences on consumption are held constant. So once again we have to say consumption depend on income and propensity to consume. Once again we have to say consumption is depend on income and propensity to consume. So all other factors held constant in this consumption function, such as other factor held constant factors is such as price level, stock of wealth, and several subjective factors which determine the consumption level. J.M. Keynes used only the consumption is depend upon the income. So these factors will be held constant in the consumption function. J.M. Keynes used the consumption functions to the short run. It used short run consumption function. We are studying to the short run. In the short run, these are the influential factors held constant. In the short run, these are the influential factors held constant. In fact, the propensity to consume or consumption function is a schedule of various amounts of consumption expenditure corresponding to different level of income. Now we shall move to know the schedule which describes the various levels of income and consumption. When income increases, consumption also increases, but not increase as increase in income, consumption is not increases. This schedule is we are taking here hypothetical schedule, and the table shows that consumption is an increasing function of income because consumption expenditure increases with increase in income.